we're going to actually kick things off with some UWCL action. Let's talk about some news first before we get into some deep NWSL Challenge Cup power rankings. New attendance record in France. PSG Feminine announced that they have sold 31,400 tickets for their upcoming UWCL semifinal against Olympique Lyon at Parc des Princes. The previous record was 30,611. So breaking a record. And listen, we love to see it. The UWCL this season has been a real joy to watch for a number of reasons, but some of the scenes that have been coming out of here have just been really breathtaking, for lack of a better word. It's just to see where we are now versus where we were a couple years ago, empty stadiums. It's a real joy to sort of see this happening.
It really is. And the teams are just doing so well, and it's creating so much buzz around it. I mean, this tickets for the OL game versus PSG that's huge. I mean, that is huge. Show up. It's about so much of the broadcast and watching it and following it, but going to the games, right? I mean, we just talked about that on Monday with Lori Lindsay on our USWNT hour. Go to these games, watch these athletes, show up for them, tune in. If you can't get to a game, if it's overseas, watch them online, watch the NWSL, because when we look at the UEFA Women's Champions League, we got PSG, Lyon, Barcelona, Wolfsburg, but Barcelona they're on fire right now. I mean, this is so fun to watch. It's a really good time for women's football.
Yeah, it was cool to sort of see this get announced. Like, honestly, just before we kind of hopped on to get together and start chatting about this, and it was like, oh, like this is a fun thing that we could touch on at the top of the episode here before we start getting into some other things. So we'll see. This is going to be for the second leg of the semifinals. So Barcelona and Wolfsburg and PSG versus OL. This is going to be the second legs for these semifinals. So the matches are going to determine the two finalists to go head to head for the official Champions League title. So we'll see how it shakes out, and I'm sure we'll be keeping an eye on things and giving the audience an update there. Let's jump back into things stateside. NWSL news, some fun event changes or new announcements to be made in terms of the soccer event side of things. Orlando Pride and Racing Louisville announcing that they're going to play the first ever NWSL match in an American racetrack. First ever Daytona Soccer Fest. Going to be playing a match at Daytona International Speedway, the home of the annual Daytona 500 race. It was a July 2nd match, moved now to Sunday, July 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be airing on CBS Sports Network. So check it out if you get a chance. It's going to be a grass field between Pit Road and Tri-Oval. There's a lot of different components coming in here. It's going to be an evening match. There's a Legends game that's going to be taking place at 3 p.m. There's going to be a pregame concert that takes place in the concert next to the game field. And then on top of that, the night's going to end with some fireworks ceremony. So there's a lot of cool things happening around this event that I don't think people were prepared for to see. I mean, we're going to have Chance the Rapper as part of this event doing the pregame concert. There's going to be a pregame before that. There's going to be Latin Grammy Award winner Raul Alejandro.
It's a whole weekend event. It's this Daytona Soccer Fest. It's an entire event, and it's all the marquee event is circling around Orlando Pride versus Racing Louisville at the Daytona 500 racetrack. Definitely history being made. I mean, a Chance the Rapper pregame for these athletes as they get to warm up, because from my understanding, reading the press release and everything that came out, Chance the Rapper will be performing right next to the soccer field. So instead of the pregame music being played through the speakers at the system, it's going to be Chance. So that's pretty sweet. These players are going to be hyped for this game.
I think, it's the first time that something like this has ever been done. So like when I first saw it roll out, I was like, wait a minute, they're going to play a what and a where and a how? Like, so like seeing more details about it kind of roll out. It was kind of exciting. I mean, one way to look at it is it's a new field that's being constructed for this event, and I think that sometimes that rings some bells for people who have been in the space for a long time. But I think knowing that they're not trying to cram a soccer pitch onto a baseball field is a little bit of a different energy in this event. A lot of excitement looks like it's coming out of this announcement, so something to look forward to or ahead to in the summer, because again, this game is going to be taking place on July 3rd. So we will be checking that out then. We are still getting some jersey reveals as Challenge Cup group play has ended and now the regular season for NWSL is kicking off. Kansas City Current with the new jerseys unveiling their away kits, a white jersey, referring to it as the electric kit. So as we've got some images on our YouTube here with it's an all white kit with some teal and red accent, which is pretty much their like trifecta of their color scheme, right? Along with navy within the crest there. So yeah, referring to, honestly, when I saw this, I was like, they're referring to it as the electric kit. That sounds dangerous. What happens when you mix water and electricity? You die. And I'm like, you know what? I respect it. Maybe that's what they're trying to go for here, instill fear in your opposition.
I think that's exactly what they're going for. I mean, these kits are pretty cool. We like to chat about them as they get rolled out from all the different clubs. And each club we've seen having a little nod to the 10th year in the NWSL. Although KC Current, this is only its, I'm going to say, 0.5 year, second year, because they weren't KC Current last year. Just half of the very last game in 2021 is when they were Kansas City Current. But that's hilarious about the electric kit and the current. Yeah, you're gonna get electrocuted.
Look, I can't be the only one who thought that. I was like, wait a minute, Kansas City Current is wearing an electric kit, like, oh my goodness, prepare to die, opposition. Yeah, I like it. I like kits that are coming out with like detailed accents like this. It's tough, I think, when you have like your away kit, because we're starting to see that there's certain protocols in terms of jerseys when it comes to match day scenarios. If you're the away kit, it has to be a predominantly white kit, you know, going up against the home side that is going to have, you know, the more bold colors and stuff like that. But it's nice to sort of see these teams coming out here with these kind of twists on the white kit, kind of having these accents in there. So we've seen the Red Stars with their skyscraper kit kind of having some blue accents in there. Angel City, right, with their Sol Rosa kit, kind of killing it. And now we've got Kansas City with their electric kit. But they weren't the only ones to announce, you know, some wearable, flashy things. No. The Washington Spirit made the announcement that that their championship rings have now been unveiled. And listen, these are dope. Let me see more of this. I love it. I love seeing the jewelry, the drip, all of it come out for these players. And you know, after such a long, grueling season, getting to see a look at the ring, they've got all kinds of cool details on it. The date of the championship, when it was won. Inside the ring, they've got the final score line, 2-1 over the Red Stars. It's going to have the player name, number right on the side of it, and then the NWSL trophy on it as well. And of course, you've got all the ice within it as well. So I like these. I think they look pretty nice.
Ooh, these are really sharp. I like them. I'm excited to see them on the players, because that's when you can tell exactly how big the championship ring is. And this one looks pretty big. It looks to be a lot of diamonds. As Sandra mentioned, we're throwing up these images on our YouTube. So if you're not watching and just listening as a podcast, you can head on over to YouTube and take a look at the Washington Spirit 2021 NWSL Championship ring. The one that the team showed off on Twitter features Kelly O'Hara's ring, because it has her name on it. I think the score line being engraved in the inside of it is
that was very cool.
Very, very, very cool. They even have the Red Stars logo in there.
I know. So, I was like, that's nice, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess Washington wants to remember who they beat.
Hey, why not?
I thought that was a little bit interesting, though, that it says like the entire Chicago Red Stars logo, not just like CRS. I'm not sure, but to each their own. I like it. It looks pretty great. I mean, any championship ring is a pretty sweet thing to have. So congratulations again, Washington Spirit. It's also fun because, of course, they won this NWSL Championship in November, and they get rings now. So like the fanfare continues. There's a big ring ceremony that'll happen. The celebration goes on. It's nonstop for this Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the perks, right? That's part of the perks of being the victors, being the champions. You get to celebrate it forever, quite frankly, in my opinion. So, congrats once again to the Spirit on getting some fresh new drip with the rings, championship rings, and you know what? They are a team on the hunt to collect some more hardware. The Challenge Cup semifinals are now set. There was a little bit of confusion, and we'll talk about some logistical things right now for Challenge Cup updates. We've got the final four in place for Challenge Cup semifinalists. OL Reign will be facing off against Washington Spirit. So you've got your number 1 seeded team against your number 4 seeded team. But there's a little bit of a twist here. There was some scheduling conflict that came into play. And unfortunately, the number 1 team in OL Reign will not be hosting this match, kind of losing some home field advantage here, and will be playing away, as a matter of fact, in Segra Field in Leesburg, Virginia, at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Lisa, let's talk about this a little bit before we go into the second match. Quite frankly, when the Challenge Cup schedule got announced, we noticed right away there was some overlap, how that was going to look alongside with the regular season schedule in terms of matches kind of having some overlap there, with games happening on May 4th, a Challenge Cup final eventually taking place on May 7th, and then the regular season kicking off this week on the 29th, and then moving on and so forth. And there's a weekend slate of games for May 7th as well. So believe it or not, the conflict with this wasn't so much that there was overlapping in the schedule. It was that other events are being held in the facilities in which these two teams typically play in. So for OL Reign, they announced ahead of their 2022 season, made a big headline saying that they're going to be playing their games at home in Lumen Field, which is the home of NFL's Seattle Seahawks, MLS Seattle Sounders, and now also OL Reign. Now, unfortunately, there is a Champions League match, CONCACAF Champions League match that's going to be played against the Sounders and Pumas UNAM, and that is taking precedence because that has been scheduled. It's a big championship final game. So all of a sudden, there was a little bit of a rush to try to find out, as it started to come into picture a little bit, that OL Reign might be advancing into the semifinals. The league making a very quick kind of announcement that, hey, if for whatever reason the home side is unable to find a venue that works, we have to try to find other alternatives. And apparently the other alternative is Segra Field, not Audi Field, the MLS facility for DC United, but Segra Field, Lisa.
I mean, there's just so many chain of events of all of this happening, because yes, OL Reign hosting and supposed to be at Lumen Field, which is where the Sounders play, the Seahawks play. And because of that conflict, immediately you would think initial gut reaction is, okay, what about Cheney Stadium, which is where OL Reign played every single home game last year? But it's a baseball field that was converted into a soccer field, and in the new CBA signed February, the eve of preseason in 2022, teams can no longer play on baseball fields converted into soccer fields. So Cheney Stadium off the table for this match, and now OL Reign having to scramble and say, okay, can we travel to Washington, D.C., which that's a heck of a travel when you're coming from Seattle, Washington, Tacoma, Washington. So really losing that home field advantage, and then not even being able to play at Audi Field, another scheduling conflict there. There's an all-day event happening at Audi Field. So Washington Spirit says, okay, what about Segra Field? And Segra Field is in Leesburg, Virginia. It's where Washington has played a number of their games before. If you remember earlier in the Challenge Cup at the end of March, there was a bit of a Twitter war happening when Gotham played Washington Spirit, and Ashlyn Harris clapping back, saying that the Washington Spirit's playing on a, quote, high school field, I believe is the terms that Ashlyn Harris said. She was referring to Segra Field. So there has been issues in the past about Segra Field, whether they didn't have locker rooms, so teams couldn't play there. In 2021 regular season, a game between Washington and Houston got moved from DC to Houston to play there because of the lack of facilities at Segra Field. And now Segra Field coming to a bit of a rescue. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that one plays out. We'll see how that plays out on May 4th for the semifinal.
Yeah. There's a little bit of an angle here in which, folks are maybe looking at that the fact that the Spirit actually don't have a great record in the games that they've had at Segra Field. And maybe the one silver lining here is the fact that both of these teams actually have a regular season game to play amongst each other, as well as this Challenge Cup semifinal. So let's just get all the teams in one centralized region, I think was maybe sort of the underlining positive in this one. But we'll see how it shakes out. I'm sure there will be further details or other updates to happen with this main semifinal, but there are two other semifinalists.
So I just gotta say, I know that you're gonna try to cut me off. We gotta keep this short. We gotta keep it a tight episode. But maybe in the future we could just pick a neutral location. That,
you know what,
you can secure the venue, you can secure the time. You already have the broadcast time set up.
Just spitballing. We're just spitballing here. We'll see. Challenge Cup has shown us that if it is nothing else, it is something that has evolved over the 3 times that it's been in existence. But for this one, the second round of semifinals will be against the number 2 seeded Kansas City Current number 2 Kansas City Current against North Carolina Courage at Children's Mercy's Parc in Kansas City at 10:30 or 10. No, this one is at 8:30, and Washington Spirit and Herrera. There's going to be some overlap here, so sorry everybody. But this game is going to be featured on Paramount Plus, and the 2 winners of these 2 semifinals are going to be going head-to-head on May 7th on CBS Television Network. So all of the matches for the international fans, you can catch those on Twitch. But some things to take a look at here, and I'm sure we're going to take a deeper dive into this Challenge Cup final with some things that we're working on, some special exciting things that we'll announce at a later date. So we're going to have a full Challenge Cup, semifinal preview for all of you at a later time, but we just wanted sort of to give the scope of the final 4 teams here at the moment.